I'd like to visit this morning just a little bit about the approach that I would take as a Court of Appeals judge if I'm fortunate enough to receive your nomination and the governor's appointment. And it really boils down to three main principles. I'd be fair and impartial, I'd be steadfastly committed to the rule of law, and I'd never forget that I'm deciding cases involving real people who deserve a fair process where they're respected and heard. Now, you don't need to take my word that this is how I would approach being a Court of Appeals judge. If you want to know what sort of judge I would be, you need only look at what sort of judge I was when I served as the Chief Administrative Law Judge. For 4 years, leading Iowa's administrative judiciary, I worked to build a culture based around these principles, and I practiced them myself as I decided a wide variety of disputes between Iowans and their government. So first and foremost, I was and would be fair and impartial. Now, I've been blessed to have a wide variety of legal roles over the years. I've been a prosecutor and in the indigent defense community. I've sued the state for clients that were harmed by its actions, and I've defended the state and its employees and officers. But the role of an advocate has never come naturally to me. I've met many awesome advocates who relish that battle and fight for their clients, who want to push the law one way or the other. And don't mistake me, we need those people in order for our judicial system to work. But that's not me. The role of all of the many ones that I've had that has been the best fit was as a fair and impartial administrative law judge. It comes natural to me to try to reach the objectively correct legal result, to keep an open mind, curious to learn the facts of a case and understand the parties' arguments, and then to decide the case neutrally based on that law. And I understand, because I've made that transition before, that when you take the judicial oath, you serve the law, not your former clients, not any other former affiliations or political interests. That's also why I'm steadfastly committed to the rule of law. Again, as an administrative law judge, I heard a lot of compelling stories from Iowans, people who needed their food assistance benefits or wanted to keep their driver's license from being revoked, wanted to stay off the child abuse registry. But I had to remember that it was my duty to follow the law and to reach the result regardless of whether I liked the outcome or not. And I would do the same thing on the Court of Appeals. I would faithfully interpret our statutes, apply Iowa Supreme Court precedent, and reach the result that's required by the law, regardless of whether it makes me or you or anyone else happy. And third and finally, regardless of sort of the outside objective significance of the case, I would understand that this is the most important case for those parties and that they deserve a fair process to be heard and respected. This, research tells us that the process is just as important than the result in a case, that parties are more likely to abide by the rulings, to not commit crimes again, if they believe that the process was fair. And in fact, it affects everyone who's observing the process. And so this was a touchstone of how I worked as an administrative law judge. It affected how I presided over cases, how I wrote my decisions, and I talked about some of that in my application. And it's the same it's the same way I would approach things on the Court of Appeals as well. I would dive in to the briefs and the record to really understand how things, the case that is before me that the parties are presenting. I'd approach oral argument with that same humble and respectful purpose, respecting the parties, the district court, my colleagues on the bench. And then I would write clear and concise decisions that help the parties understand what's happening, especially the losing party, why they're losing, and ensuring that everyone has felt heard through that process.